The Dow Jones index closes at record high, recovers all of Tuesday's losses in a strong session on Wall Street. Asian markets trade mixed, while the GIFT Nifty is suggesting a lower start for the Indian market. The crude sell-off continues as fears over a supply disruption in West Asia ease. Brent crude trades below $75 a barrel. Bajaj Auto's second quarter numbers are largely in line with estimates. The company reports its highest ever quarterly revenue and EBITDA aided by strong volume growth. However, management commentary on festive demand remains cautious. In key earnings to track today, Infosys is likely to report its second straight strong quarter in terms of revenue growth. Wipro is expected to post flattish revenue growth after 6 straight quarters of decline. Axis Bank and Nestle will also be reporting quarterly numbers today. At least 20 Hawks bomb threats disrupt international and domestic flights in the last 3 days. Mumbai police arrests one minor in connection with at least 3 threats. Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu says that every possible effort is being made to safeguard operations. Hello, good morning in the Mumbai News Centre. I'm Vinny Motiwala and you're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC-TV18. Let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing, because the handover from the US market has been interesting. It was a positive one, but Asian markets have opened up mixed. While you're seeing the Taiwan index managing to hold on to some bit of a gain of almost 0.04%, Hang Seng, that's managing to hold on to strong gains of around 2% is what we are watching out for. Shanghai holding on to gains of almost 0.6%. What's not doing well today in the Asian market is the Japanese index. That's the Nikkei. That's down almost 0.5% in trade. Why? Because the trade data that came in from Japan, that was not exciting or what the street was expecting. It missed the estimation of what the street was watching out for. So on the back of that, we're seeing that Nikkei is actually trading with cuts of almost 0.5%, like I mentioned. Let's also look at what Kospi is managing to do as well. Kospi is managing to hold on to some bit of a decent gain along with ASX 200. That also is managing to hold on to gains. So Asian market, surely it's been an interesting move. Positive cues coming in from the US front. But mixed side is what we're watching out for. Let's pull up the Nifty implied open. As of now, it's showing a slight bit of a decline of 13 points. So yes, a bit of a negative bias is what we're expecting the Indian markets to open up with. So let's keep an eye out on that. That's all that we have in terms of the Asian markets opening and how India is expected to open. But Wall Street, like I was mentioning, ended Wednesday's trading session quite high. The Dow Jones climbed more than 300 points and they closed at record high levels. S&P 500 added nearly 0.5%, while the tech-heavy index Nasdaq also gained 50 points at its close. CNBC's Peepa Stevens is getting us a wrap on all the action that's happened on Wall Street.
U.S. markets finished higher across the major indexes as stocks staged a comeback after Tuesday's sell-off. The Dow up 337 points, the S&P gained 27 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq rising 51 points. Amazon announced today that it will invest over $500 million in nuclear power through new agreements with 3 major energy providers from Virginia to Washington state. Amazon Web Services, known as AWS, signed an agreement with Dominion Energy to explore the development of small modular nuclear reactors. Amazon is just the latest tech company to invest in nuclear power. Earlier this week, Google announced a deal for nuclear energy with startup Kairos Power. And last month, Microsoft signed a deal with Constellation Energy to restart a reactor at 3 Mile Island to power its data centers. And the Supreme Court today allowed a regulation to remain in place that's aimed at limiting pollution at coal-fired power plants. It will stay that way until other court challenges play out. Republican-led states and industry groups argued that the Environmental Protection Agency overstepped its authority and imposed unattainable standards. The rule requires many coal plants to capture 90% of carbon emissions or else shut down within 8 years. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Thanks so much for that. But let's move on and actually not move on, but stay with Wall Street. And let's listen into the former Dallas Fed President Robert Kaplan as he's giving his outlook for the U.S. economy and his expectations of how much the Fed could cut rates in the next meeting. So listen in.
The inflation's improved at least 100 basis points over the last year. We can have somewhat lower Fed funds rate. So I think the Fed, depending on what, as the economy unfolds, is likely to do another 25 in November. I think they'll have a debate about December. The issue will be, in order to cut below 4.25, 4.5, you need to see more sustained improvement going from 2.5 to 2, and the jury's out on whether or not we're going to see that.
That's all the global market action that happened overnight. But how will this actually start impacting our cues in the Indian market? We have our research team joining in with us this morning to set you up and prepare you for the day. And let me first start up with Urmaz. Good morning. What are we watching out in terms of important cues for today? How is the trade setup looking like, Urmaz?
Good morning, Vinny. And the struggle continues for the Nifty at higher levels. It's just not managing to cross that 25,250 mark on the upside. And on the charts, if you can see, it's making lower lows now for the last three sessions, from starting off from 25,000. Now the low of yesterday was 24,900 from where it reversed. So it still remains in that broad 300-point range of 24,900 on the downside, 25,200 on the upside. So it's a weekly expiry today of the Nifty. So we'll keep an eye out on that. We had spoken about the Nifty Bank being the index to watch out for yesterday, but because of the not so good market sentiment, even that could not perform. It ended 100 points lower, but still above the mark of 51,800, but correcting 200 points from the highs of the day. Autos continued to underperform, as did IT. Bajaj will react to results today. A lot of IT earnings, well, we speak about it in just a bit. But this market, if you can see the earnings reactions, good earnings are getting disproportionately rewarded, as you saw in HDFC, AMC. Not so good, like KEI got hammered yesterday. South Indian Bank also, asset quality was better. Stock ending 6.5% higher. So that's the kind of reactions that we are seeing. Even in today's session, we'll see Bajaj Auto react to results, as with Emphasis and L&T Tech. But the eyes will be today on Infosys and Wipro as they come out with results, and the commentary as well for the quarters ahead. Axis Bank and Nestle among the other Nifty constituents reporting results today. From the broader markets, you'll have CEAT, Havells, Polycab, Tata Chemicals, which has been in focus in the recent past, will also be reporting results today. As I mentioned, it's the Nifty weekly expiry today, so the index will be in focus as well. How will the Infosys and Wipro's ADRs, the US listed shares, react? Because earnings will come out after market hours today, so we'll see for a reaction there. There's the AMC stocks, which were buzzing yesterday, if there will be any follow-up moves there. Of course, today is the last day of the Hyundai IPO. The IPO subscribed only 42% so far. We'll see if there is any improvement on the final day. And some important global cues today, the ECB rate decision and the US jobless claims and production data, along with earnings as well. But for now, the GIFT Nifty is indicating a sluggish start for our own markets. We'll keep an eye out on those important levels on the Nifty.
Absolutely, keeping an eye out on those important levels on the Nifty. But let's move on now to Vamakshi, who's here to tell us which are the stocks that we should be watching out for in today's trade. Vamakshi, good morning.
Well, good morning, Vinny. Let me first start off with Bajaj Auto. Revenue and EBITDA came in largely in line with what the street was expecting. Slight miss on margins. Margin came in at 20.2% as compared to expectations of 20.4%. However, net profit, that is the adjusted net profit, came in at 2,216 crore, largely in line with what we were expecting. L&T Tech is the next one we will be watching out for. Revenue saw an uptick of 4.5% sequentially. This is in line with estimates. Margins, however, came in below estimates. Margins stood at 15.1% as compared to estimates of 16.3%. Polte Patil Developers also on our radar on the back of its Q2 business update. Collections stood at 550 crores. This is a downtick of 10% sequentially and uptick of 16% YOY. Sales value too stood at 770 crores for this company, up nearly 8% sequentially and 22% on a YOY basis. All Cargo Gati reported its September business update. Total volume, which includes surface as well as air express, stood at 108 kilotons. This is an uptick of 7% month on month, but it was down nearly 1% YOY. GMR Airports, the passenger traffic shot up by 9% year on year, but however on a sequential basis it was down nearly 4% in the month of September. The company posted record volumes in the first half of FY25. Cochin Shipyard, the government has decided to exercise the 2.5% green shoe option in the company after the OFS was subscribed nearly 2.16 times of base size by the non-retail investors. RVNL has emerged as the lowest bidder for a project worth 270 crores from Maharashtra Metro Rail Corp. And lastly, EIH in focus. They will be investing up to £69 million in EIH London investments.
Thanks so much for that, Vamakshi. But finally, let's prep you up for what you should be watching out for in the world of F&O. And Sudarshan is joining in with us this morning. Sudarshan, good morning. 13 sessions that FIIs have continued to sell. What are we watching out from the F&O space now?
Good morning, Vinny. So first, talk about markets move on Wednesday. Market continues to failing to hold on to recovery, and amid volatility, all the major indices closed with cuts. Nifty has fallen 86 points. Nifty Bank was down more than 100 points. Same with mid-cap index. It was down almost 142 points. And following global cues and markets move, GIFT Nifty for today is indicating a start with minor cuts as well. Now coming to institutional flows, we continue to see selling by FIs. Yesterday, FIs sold shares of more than rupees 3,400 crore in the cash market. At the same time, DIs have bought shares of more than rupees 2,200. And with yesterday's selling, FIs in October so far has sold each day, and now total figure in October has crossed 67,000 crore, which is the highest ever and crossed previous high that we saw during COVID in March 2020. In the index future side as well, we saw FIs selling. The sell figure was almost 700 crore. At the same time, they have reduced long positions by almost 8,600 contracts and added short positions of almost 1,800 contracts. And with this, long exposure reduced to 33.5%. On the client side, we continue to see addition of longs. Yesterday, we saw addition of almost 2 lakhs. And with this, long exposure remains steady at 62%. On the option front, on the call side, 25,000 call has seen addition of more than 33 lakh shares with premium at 61, and 25,100 call has seen addition of more than 20 lakh shares with premium at 26. On the put side, 24,900 put has seen addition of 12 lakh shares with premium at 34. And with this important levels for Nifty, support is seen remains around 24,900 and resistance is now at 25,100. Lastly, two stocks that might be in focus. First, Reliance. Yesterday, in the last hour, we saw sudden surge in volumes, and next is Emphasis that might react to its Q2 earnings that has come almost in line with estimates.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that. But on that note, I think we'll slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, we'll talk about Bajaj Auto's Q2 numbers. How are they looking like on the other side of the break? Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC-TV18. And like promised, let's go across to Sudarshan, who's here to tell us what Bajaj Auto's numbers were looking like and did they meet the estimates of the street. Sudarshan, good morning. And how were Bajaj Auto's numbers? What were the highlights coming in from the management in the con call as well?
Morning, Vinny. So Bajaj Auto for Q2 FY25 has reported earnings which were largely in line. But what market may not like is the commentary related to festive demand. So first, talking about the numbers, all the headline numbers were largely in line and seen a healthy growth. Adjusted net profit was up 21%, revenue was up 22%, EBITDA has increased 24%, margin remains about 20%, it was higher 40 bips to 20.2%. But in the commentary, what management has said is the festive demand in the first 15 days of the festive season, it is seen a growth of 1 to 2% range versus company's expectation of 5 to 6% and the brokerage's expectation of almost 8 to 10%. And what does it say about that? On the realization front also, it was up 5% year on year and down 1% sequentially. And on the margin front, what are the two factors that are dragging the margin? One is raw material cost, and second is the ramp up that company is taking for electric two-wheelers. So overall, earnings were largely in line, but commentary was cautious.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that. Numbers largely in line, but commentary is cautious, so keep an eye out at Bajaj Auto. But we also have Infosys that is expected to report its Q2 numbers today. Rima is joining in with us to give us the key expectations. Rima, good morning.
Hi, good morning. So TCS was a muted set of numbers, HCL Tech was strong, and now all eyes are going to be on Infosys. Now the expectation is that it's going to be a good quarter for Infosys. We're working with a revenue growth of about 3.5%, and this would be the second consecutive quarter of a strong revenue growth. In Q1 too, the constant currency revenue growth was at 3.6%, and we're again expecting about a 3.5% print. So the question is, will this drive a guidance upgrade? Now, the current guidance for Infosys is about 3 to 4%. There are many people, many analysts like Kotak, Citi, they all estimate that there is a case for guidance to be upgraded because the guidance to begin with was fairly conservative. Analysts also point out that if there is no upgrade in guidance, then it could be read negatively. Now, what will drive this strong upgrade? Firstly, a good H1. Secondly, the deal wins have been fairly upbeat and a better outlook for US BFSI sector. Margins for the company are largely stable, upward bias. 21.3% is the CNBC-TV18 poll. Remember, for Infosys, the wage hike impact kicks in only in Q3. Profits are up close to about 6%. And we also expect the company to maintain its margin guidance of 20 to 22%.
Okay, Rima, thank you so much for that. Surely keeping an eye out on Infosys. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. But after the break, we'll get to what's happening in the world of commodities. So stay tuned in.
The only reason we would want to IPO is because we are at the forefront of this, right? As in, we are a stockbroker.
I would say 50-50, more leaning towards no IPO today.
More leaning towards no IPO, Kailash?
I would lean heavily towards no IPO.
We really want to be a bank, but however we have tried over the last many years, we have not been allowed to.
Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18, and it's time to get to what's happening in the world of commodities. What is gold doing? Where is crude trading at? Manisha Gupta is joining in with us. Manisha, good morning. And gold back near those record high levels?
Oh, well, yes, it has been a very strong gain in the overnight markets. We are a couple of dollars away from all-time highs, and this is because of the decline in the Treasury yields, which is at a one-week low, which is supporting buying in gold. Apart from that, the markets are almost certain now that you will see a 25 basis point of a rate cut from the U.S. Fed in the month of November. That has been factored in. And then it has been weak inflation data in Europe, in UK, and that has increased expectation of aggressive easing going forward. Well, actually, you have the European Central Bank monetary policy meeting today, and you could be looking at a rate cut coming in from that. Apart from that, whether it's about China, Bank of England, all of them have been in a rate cut spree right now, and we could be looking at more of them, which has been supportive for gold. Apart from that, it is the base metal prices which really are holding some gains back. Well, there is a press briefing underway right now in China, where the China housing minister has said that they will take monetization measures for urbanization projects, will add 1 million village urbanization projects, and also bank lending to a 4 trillion yuan. I mean, this is a figure that the street was waiting for, and now that we have it, you could be looking at some support continuing in case of metals as well. I mean, as and when this conference comes out with more numbers, ideas, and stimulus measures, you could be looking at support continuing for industrial metals as a sector.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that. But let's get you some update. Aviation disruptions continue as 6 airplanes receive at least 20 bomb threats in the last 3 days. All threats were found to be hoaxes, and no dangerous items were found after security checks. The Mumbai police has detained a minor in connection with 3 bomb threats made on October 14th to Indigo and Air India flights. Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu says that all the threats are being investigated and efforts are being made and taken to reduce the disruption in the sector. So key to watch out for that. But in somber news, we have former One Direction singer Liam Payne, who was found dead outside a hotel in Argentina's Buenos Aires after the 31-year-old fell from the hotel balcony on the third floor. The police in a statement said that he had fallen into internal courtyard in the hotel and that they were investigating the circumstances around the death. Liam is survived by his 7-year-old son, Bear Payne. So that's the update coming in on that front. But with that, it's the wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Thank you so much for tuning in. Up next, Bazaar Morning Call.